Testing, testing. Can we have the candidates, or can we have the people that are going to speak on the tax issues up here right now? Thank you. No, I want the people that are speaking on the tax questions first, over here on this side. And the school district, if the school district is here, they may come too. They can't? Well, first we need to get the people up here first, yeah. First we need to get the people up here first. Yeah, so I had microphone mute, and so where do I turn it off?
Test.
Yeah. Hi. Okay, you want to open it up? Do you all know how to work the microphone? Okay.
You know. Can you hear me? Oh, good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Carbajal, and on behalf of Commerce City Business and Professional Association, we want to welcome you to tonight's forum. We want to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone could please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and I want to just kind of start off, just say we have an election here in Commerce City and Adams 14 every 2 years. And your city council and your school board members are the people who make the laws and rules that we live in. So it's really important to vote, so thank you all for being here. And tonight I'd like to introduce our moderator, who is Janet Union. And Norm Union is going to be taking the questions, and I will be your timekeeper. So thank you so much.
Okay, now the rules of the meeting. Do you all have an agenda? Did you pick them up in the back of the room? That's good. Each person speaking on the tax issue will be given 3 minutes to speak in favor of the issue. And if we have someone to speak against the issue, they should notify either Maria or me so we can add to the agenda. Maximum of 6 minutes per side of each ballot question. For the school board and city council candidates, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and after questions will then be given 1 minute to summarize. Answers to candidate questions should be no longer than 1 minute. If the audience should have questions, they are to write them on a piece of paper and give them to Norm Union, who will review them and pass the questions to the moderator. The ballot questions, speaking for the 1% sales increase is Delia Collins. Speaking for the school board, yes on 3C, is Pat Sanchez, and I believe he's the superintendent of the district. And speaking on behalf of the fire district is Kevin Bensel. And let's see, who wants to start it out? Kevin, do you want to start? Sure. Okay.
My name is Kevin Vinsel. I'm representing the South Adams County Fire Department. I'm here to talk about the adoption of our mill levy campaign that we are doing. The ballot question is 5A. It will be on the mail-in ballot that will be mailed out, I believe, on the 15th. The adoption of the mill levy increase will head off budget restraints and cutbacks. Without a change in the mill levy, the fire district's operational costs will exceed our revenue. Basically, in 2 years, we will be out of funding. We will be spending more than we will bringing in. We want to bring in $4.3 million in revenue. It's a 9.999 mill levy, which is $4.3 million increase, which will help us assist in response by improving our response times in the district, which for the residential and businesses. And this is throughout the city. Currently, our fire district covers roughly 72 square miles. Our boundaries are 48th Avenue, 120th, the DIA border, and the Platte River, including the refineries, various chemical companies, and then the expanded residential areas that we have incurred in the past, 4, 5, 6 years. We also are proposing to hire 15 to 30 full-time firefighters. It takes 6 volunteers to equal the time of 1 paid firefighter. So we're not going to get rid of the volunteers, but this mill levy increase will definitely help us in conjunction with the volunteers with our response times and getting the average response time to roughly about 5 minutes. Currently, our response time is 11 minutes and 30 seconds in some areas, and we want that to change for the community. We want to also ensure our 80-plus volunteers. We want to have a retention program that keeps them up to date and going, in conjunction with the full-time firefighters. We want to increase the efficiency of our aging firehouses. A lot of our firehouses are very old and have been around a while. And we want to strengthen the fire prevention programs. And basically, to sum it all up, a $200,000 home, it's going to increase about $8 a month. A $150,000 home, roughly $6 a month increase. So those numbers, I'll be more than happy to elaborate if I have more time or if I have questions. But basically, this mill levy increase is to strengthen our department in response times. And that is not for just up north, it's for down south as well. Currently, we have 1 paid fire engine that is running 72 square miles, and we are at 5,000 calls as of now. And by the end of the year, we will have answered over about 7,200 calls, roughly 18 per day.
Thank you, Kevin. Are there any questions out there? Does anybody want to speak against the issue? Please come. Please come forward and speak in this mic over here.
Good evening.
How you doing?
So my name is Chaz Tedesco. I'm a resident of North. I live on 104th and Chambers approximately. My question would be, we have 2 volunteer fire departments up there. We have one that's not in Commerce City, and we have one that's just on the border of Commerce City on 120th and, Buckley. So does this put us with a operating fire department, or is it strictly all going to be volunteer up there?
No, what we plan on doing is staffing every firehouse with paid and volunteer, but career staff as well. The fire department you're talking about, that's Brighton. That's right. A fully staffed house. We also have what we call mutual aid agreement with that department as well. Not to get into the specifics about it or too far in depth, but when a high call emergency, say a structure fire happens in your residence, our career staff and volunteer staff, if this passes, would run on that as well as that other department. It's kind of a cool thing that we're doing to get departments together. But to answer the question, right now they are not vacant, but volunteer firehouses, and they will be staffed.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another question? Come forward, please.
with Guillermo Serna, with the amount of people that need to be hired as the city grows, do you think that the fire department will ever be, let's say, in conjunction with the city,
Not
to be
to,
under the direction of the city?
not to be, against the city or whatever, but we operate very, very closely with the city, and we always have. So we will not, the reason for this mill levy increase is, as a special district, that we remain operational through a special district and not in conjunction with the city. But we have agreements with the city that we, of course, provide fire protection for the area that the city is in.
My concern on that basically is that the amount of people that we have, okay, and the growth potential, and the needs here within the next 20 years or so, we're constantly going to be hitting the people for more and more funds. And I think that we have to, at one point, start looking at what direction the city needs to go as a whole. So we don't hit the community for this tax, this tax, this tax, all at one time. And better, let's say, management, okay, of people and insurance and all that type of stuff. Because you guys do a beautiful job.
Yeah,
And I mean, everybody should be paid for what you do.
Yeah, and we, to kind of give you a little history, I'm a Commerce City resident. I have been all my life. I live out here. My parents lived out here, the whole 9 yards, and my dad was involved in the fire department and the whole thing. And even going back into the 70s and 80s, they kept the mill levy at one point in time around 2.3, and it was one of the lowest, not only in the state but in the whole western area. And we couldn't. We operated as long as we could under that, and then we increased the mill levy in 2003, and that was just to keep us going as far as bare minimum. And even at 9.9, we are lower than any surrounding fire department.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. My perspective is if you're going to have a paid fire department, okay, then it should be a full paid fire
Yeah.
department. That's nothing against the fire
Oh, no,
department.
that's okay.
But I'm asking a question that it's in everybody's mind, but they won't ask it. Thank you.
Is there another question out there on the fire department? We'll go on to the school district. Pat Sanchez will talk to us.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you this evening about Adams 14 schools. As the members of the community and leaders in Commerce City, you understand better than most the benefits of a strong educational system. From attracting development to improving property values to providing a well-educated workforce, and most importantly, to providing opportunity to the most valuable resource, our children. Our kids in the Adams 14 district deserve the very best education and subsequently the very best opportunities in life. You know as well as I do that for too long Adams 14 students were not getting the education they deserved. I can tell you that the Board of Education and the leadership team of Adams 14 schools are committed to turning the tide in this district. The Commerce City community deserves better and our kids deserve better. I have been deeply involved in the school district for about 16 months now, and the changes we have already implemented have been significant. We've brought in an amazing team of people who are passionate about educating our kids, and our TCAP scores from the 2012-13 school year prove this. The percentage of Adams 14 students who scored proficient and above increased across all 4 content areas. Adams City Middle School, Kearney Middle School moved up from turnaround status into state performance, so no longer is the clock ticking for them. We have stopped the 8-year academic decline at Adams 14, but the fact is we still have a lot of work to do. Much of this work involves implementing new data-driven teaching methods in the classroom and providing excellent professional development for our instructors. But in addition to excellent instruction, we need to provide our students with the proper tools and learning environment. Would you believe that many of our students don't have graphing calculators, that our chemistry labs at the high school do not have beakers, that the STEM education opportunities mainly wealthier school districts take for granted are only just now becoming available in Adams 14? Would you believe that many of our students study in buildings with outdated electrical plumbing systems and obsolete computers and other technology? We at Adams 14 are in the race to go from worst to first. I know it can happen, the board knows it can happen, and we are seeking the support of the community to help us finish that race more quickly. A yes on 3C will cost about $2.63 per month per 100,000 of the home's market value, for less than the cost of a cup of coffee per month, less than the cost of an annual magazine subscription per year. You can help us turn Adams 14 schools into the kind of school district that the others will look towards as the standard for academic excellence. We are no longer shooting for the middle. The Kick Me sticker is no longer on Adams 14, and we're going to make a difference for our kids' lives today. Thank you for your time and for your support on 3C.
Now, do we have a question from the audience, or over there? Would you come to the front, please?
Question submitted about the concept of outsourcing classified jobs such as bus drivers, print shop, etc. I asked whether the district is for or against that, and why or why not.
Okay. Easy answer, no. We had no conversations about outsourcing any part of our district. Any employee group has not been a conversation at all. There are some rumors circulating out there, and they're just rumors. I think some people try to whip these things into a political arena, and I think that I've not had any conversations with the board about outsourcing any part of our district or any employee group. So, simple answer.
Now, do you want to come back up and speak? I'm sorry that happened, but
I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Thank you for taking my question. First of all, my name is Timio Archuleta. I just became a new member of Commerce City again. I've been a long-time Commerce City resident for a lot of years. I moved out of here a few years ago, but I've come back. And I've come back to a failing school district that I believe needs a lot of help, okay? And I'm here to help you. My question is, I'm neutral on 3C right now because I don't know the plan for 3C. I know it's for a super middle school. I'm opposed to super middle schools for the simple fact that we have a high school. If we're going to have a super middle school, we're going to have two high schools, basically. My concern is, and I believe it's a legitimate concern, you have first through fifth grade is grade school. You've got sixth, seventh, and eighth grade is middle school. And then you're taking the ninth graders and putting the children into the into the high school atmosphere, where now you've got 13, 14, 15-year-old children interacting with 17-year-old children, 18-year-old children. It doesn't work. My proposal to you, and maybe you'll look at it, is I believe that you need a ninth grade academy. It happens in other districts. For the ninth grader to go from a child setting to a young adult setting, in my opinion, is awful difficult. It creates havoc. Now you're going to have 600 kids instead of 300 kids, and they're going to be interacting with each other. So, I'm not really sold on the idea of a super middle school. I like the idea. I'm a product of Kearney Junior High School. Does it need replaced? Yes, it does. It needs updated. It needs something done to it, along with Adams City Junior High School. Both of those high schools were there when I went to school. You can look at me. I'm not a young man by any means, and those schools have not changed at all. The only thing that changed is the teachers and the students that are there today. So I'm not opposed to it. I believe if you want support for this, you're going to have to get the message out to the people about what it is your plan is, because they don't know what it is right now.
Okay.
You're asking for something You're asking for something, I know I've got a few questions in there for you to answer, but you don't need to answer me now. I'm just making a suggestion to you that you need to get this message out to the parents out there. I talk with a lot of parents. I've got some brothers and sisters that live in this district. I've got some nieces and nephews that live in this district. They're all asking the same questions, what's going to happen with this? So that's my question to you. Like I say, I'm not opposing 3C. I may support 3C, but I don't know the plan yet. Right. I don't want you to be cheap with it. The schools that have 30, 40 kids per classroom, they're failing. Mm-hmm. You've got to take a look at that if you're going to ask the community for money.
Sure. I'm happy to respond, if I may. First of all, I appreciate the question. I think that the point of why have we not been clear with the community is we have to be careful. We don't want to get the cart ahead of the horse. We don't know if we're going to be able to do this. But I can tell you, from my experience as a principal and as a high school principal and someone who's put these type of academies in place before, is not to have a school that is 2,000 students in a giant block. We would break those campuses into small learning communities, so they would be aligned with the themes at the high school. So ideally, in full implementation, what it would look like, the high school would have 3 small schools within the school, thematic academies. Biomedical, for example, is one. Arts and humanities is one. Engineering and energy is one. The middle school aspect, or the way it drills down, is the middle schools would have a similar kind of construct, but they would be in smaller schools within the school, and kids would have some choice into how they apply academics in that setting. So I don't want to take a lot of time explaining that. I'm happy to sit with you offline out of this conversation, but I definitely think I do take back with you, we've not done a good job of communicating with what the larger vision is with the community. But part of it, too, is we can't go too far down that road if we're not going to be able to build this building. Once the building is approved, we'll be going through probably a pretty intense community and internal process with our teachers. So we study what the best practice is of how we serve kids 6-12, so we can implement what works, because we cannot make a mistake. We have to implement, but I'm not a fan of large high schools. I am a fan of schools that are probably less than 1,000 at secondary. There's a way to break that campus up, and I think the idea of having campuses like that would be sharing resources and having kids have opportunities. And the piece of the piece I would like to respond to is having older kids with some younger kids on the campus. The only way you address that from a educator standpoint is breaking it up, having relationships with kids, but the components of a 9th grade academy can still be applied. So I'm a fan of 9th grade academies too, and I think that the relationships is really what it is that keeps kids engaged. So in the element of how we frame academic academies, there's 3 elements: relationships, relevance, and rigor. The first piece is relationships. You have a small learning community. You have teachers that know kids individually that maybe follow them through their whole career. Relevance is they have a choice. They could pick what theme they want to study in. They want to pick what area they're going to apply the math. And then when those 2 pieces are in place, that's when you get to academic rigor. They get into AP courses. They get into high-level understanding honors courses. They get into post-secondary options. Happy to sit down and frame it out a little bit more in detail, but I can tell you that I'm not interested in having just a giant school with a bunch of kids on one campus. We need to break it up, because without breaking it up, we can't build those relationships with kids. And if they don't know you care, they won't care to know. So we could talk more offline, but I definitely hear you, and I think there is some things that are resonating with me about what we can do better to paint a better picture with the community. So I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Is there another question coming forward? Thank you. We'll go on to the city sales tax issue now.
Good evening. My name is Delilah Collins, and I'm a resident of Commerce City as well as a member of the QCI. I'm glad to be here tonight to discuss with you issue 2K. For the past 2 years, a group of business, nonprofits, and community leaders formed the Quality Community Initiative and worked together with council and the community to determine the specific and immediate needs of the entire Commerce City community. 2K is the result of more than 2 years of group and public meetings as well as community surveys. After listening to the citizens of Commerce City and what they wanted our city to offer, the QCI committee has come up with 5 projects to be built in the next 5 years. To pay for these projects, we're asking for a 1-cent sales tax increase, which will not apply to food or groceries. Great cities offer its citizens a place to live, work, and play. Yes on 2K will provide funding for much-needed road improvements and create more access to recreation for all Commerce City residents, including the widening of Tower Road from 4 lanes, to 4 lanes from 80th to 103rd Avenue. This will include new pavement, street lighting, traffic signals, and improved drainage system. A new recreation center at Second Creek, 112th and Chambers. This rec center will offer amenities for all ages, including indoor pool, courts, and a track. Funding to provide upgrades to the existing Commerce City Rec Center, including a family locker room, therapy pool, and outdoor spray ground for our kids. A seasonal outdoor pool located in the southern part of the city. This outdoor leisure pool will include a slide, zero-depth entry, picnic pavilions, and play structures. And 3 new 10 to 20-acre neighborhood parks throughout Commerce City, which will include multi-use fields, basketball and tennis courts, playgrounds, picnic areas, walking and jogging trails. Safe roads, parks, and access to recreation areas attract families and businesses, which help keep our neighborhoods and property values strong. Voting yes on 2K will allow us to keep moving forward and build a great city together. Issue 2K creates a dedicated revenue stream that can only be used for roadway improvements, future parks, recreation, and operation and maintenance of these improvements in our future. Yes on 2K has been endorsed by the North Metro Chamber of Commerce, City Council, as well as community leaders throughout the city. For more information, visit our website at www.yeson2k.com. We have more information in the back, and yard signs are available in the parking lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Delia. Do we have any questions out there on the sales tax issue? Norman?
Question submitted from the audience. We wonder how a 1% tax increase will generate the funding for all 5 of the proposed projects. And want to know how the city will be able to fund all these projects and start them all at the same time.
That's a great question. The 1% sales tax increase is not going to fund 100% of the projects. What it will do is it will generate enough revenue so that the city can request a loan against or a bond against, I'm not sure if I'm using the correct terms, but a bond against those funds. And that bond will give us enough money to start those projects, and the 1% increase gives us enough money to actually pay the mortgage on, or the note on the bond. Did I answer both questions?
Now, is there anybody else that wants to come forward with a question? Come on, there's got to be somebody out there that has a question. Esther, please come up.
My name's Esther Hall, and I'm mostly coming for a response from my sister that lives on 104th in Potomac Farms. And her comment to me was, she's got a $250,000 house that she lives in, and to use the current rec center in the area, she has to pay $800 a year to use that facility, and she's already paying it with her property tax too. And then to ask for more added money to build another rec center, she's very concerned that she'll be taxed and still be charged a fee to use the facilities.
And she's in
Reunion. Potomac Farms.
Right. She goes to the Reunion Rec Center, I take it. What's rec center?
Pardon? I don't know what rec center she was going to use. She just told me that's what she would have to pay to use the rec center there, where she could drive down to Commerce City and not pay that fee.
Right. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question. It sounds like that probably would have to be a decision that she would have to make whether or not to continue to participate, or if someone else out there would like to answer the question, feel free to take this away.
All right, thank you. Pardon me?
If it's appropriate, I'm happy to try and give an answer.
Okay, thank you.
The only rec center in the Northern Range right now that is in existence is part of the Reunion Metropolitan District. So if you live in the Reunion Metropolitan District, you pay both an HOA due and you pay a Metro District allocation through your property tax. So you pay a mill levy to the Reunion Metropolitan District. That gives you access to those facilities and cares for the parks and common spaces in that community. The recreation programs that are offered through that rec center are open to anyone. In fact, I coach a youth soccer team that has kids from well outside the city, in addition to kids in the neighborhood. I don't know where the $800 a year comes from. There are fees for access to, let's say, the swimming pool if you're a non-resident. If if you wanted to participate in any of the programs, there are resident and non-resident rates in the same way that at the Commerce City Rec Center we have resident and non-resident participation rates for programs. The rec center that's proposed on 2K would function in the exact same way that the rec center here in the historic part of town functions. It's the city's facility. And so if you're, is it your sister you said? Or your relative, I'm sorry, your sister, would have access to that facility in the same way that she does here. As a resident, she would have resident rates to access and use those facilities, and it would be, if she's in Potomac Farms, then it's going to be just down the road from her, because it would be just north of her at 112th, just west of Chambers. Does that help answer your question? I mean, in other words, she's not paying $800 a year in taxes right now. She's paying on a per use if she wants to use the Reunion facility. Her taxes, her mill levy that she pays to the city that covers the current recreation center is there, right? The penny that this would charge is levied across all sales and use tax activity in the metro, in our city. So I think if I can quote our finance director, 75% or so of that comes out of the comes out of our commercial and industrial sector. So about 25% of that 1 cent would be from the residents. So it's actually one of the most balanced ways to.
The rec center in Reunion, that she would have to pay that fee to before she could go up to the facility. She was quoted.
Yeah, and I think it was maybe misconstrued as fee versus tax. I'd be happy to talk to you offline, and I can even refer you to a member of the Metro District who could give you answers on behalf of the Metro District, if that makes sense. Bell Creek has their own Metro District and rec center. It functions in the same way. Their Metro District pays that facility, and so if you live in the neighborhood, it's effectively a membership, right? You pay through that special district and then can use that facility. Does that help? Okay, you bet.
Would you come forward and hit the microphone?
Jimmy Archuleta again. Hate to be a pain in your butt, but I got to ask some questions, okay? How many community members were actually engaged through the QCI? Also, it's a two-part question. Was the efforts of the QCI really representative of the entire community, or was it just a select few? Because this is the first I've heard about it really talked about.
Well, as far as the membership, there were several members from business. There were several members from the community. And we also had some members from the staff that were there to help us. As far as the representation or how we went around and did our data gathering, we sent out flyers, we did surveys through the mail, we did we went to community events, we had booths, and so we tried to, and we also had specific meetings to talk about this initiative. So we sent that information out, and we, did the normal, kind of the same mailing list that the council uses to send out the newsletter. We use that same information in order to send out information about the town hall meetings and the surveys and things like that. So we did the same exact thing that the city uses in order to reach out to the residents.
So is your information available for perusal?
Yes, it's actually on the Commerce City website, and it's been on the Commerce City website since the Quality Community Initiative had started. So all of that information was open and public. We did clicker polls. We did a number of things in order to gauge the response of the community. And it's interesting that you said that this is the first time I've heard about it, because I'm the same way. I look through all of my mailers. I look through everything that I get, and sometimes I'm like, wait, I didn't get that, or I have to pay specific attention or make sure that I look through the newspaper for that specific announcement. So, but we did. We made a really big effort, and then once we made the recommendation to council then went out and did the same exact thing. They did surveys, they did robocalls, they did a number of things in order to get information from the community.
Just so you know, I'm back new to the community again, so I probably may or may not have got this information, but I will be asking the questions to the people that I do know, especially in historic Commerce City. Reunion already has a lot of that stuff. Historic Commerce City doesn't have a whole lot of that stuff, and that's my concern. This little part of the country. I mean, I've got some questions for City Council when they come up here about their plan also. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Did you want me to address the thought that we had as the community initiative is between the South and the North? Because we talked about that issue specifically, and there was a lot of conversation around core city versus North. And one of the things that we came back to is that absent the large, wonderful park that we have in between the two cities, we are still one city. And so as our community grows, we're going to need to provide more resources for all of our community members. And so that was the thinking behind, how we do this. There happens to be more space in the north for us to put some of these activities than there is in the core city. So that's the number one reason why a lot of those things are going in that area, because that's where the land is. Right. There is a dog track, and there's conversations about what's going on with the dog track already, but
The guy in the front, please come up.
So I'd like to say, just to answer something that was said by Timeo, again, I live in the, city of Commerce City. I hate calling it North because I am Commerce City. I'm like the mayor. We live in a different section of the city, but we're all part of the same city. I just want to point out to Timeo that he made a statement that we already have all these services where we live, and I want to say that's not true. There are certain sections up there that have special districts that have those specific items. I live in the middle that doesn't have either one. So although I'm still part of the city, we still need that service in that part. And I'm not trying to detract from the core, because I think the core needs to be paid attention to. I'm just saying that I want to correct the statement that we already have those services up there, because we don't. And we haven't had a lot of services for a very long time. Fortunately, the city council and the mayor have worked very hard to get us the services that we do have. Shopping centers, 7-Elevens, fast food, and of course our grade A King Supers. So I want to say I appreciate everything that's being done up there, but I also don't want to forget about some other sections of Commerce City that need that same attention. We're just like the rest of the city, and we need the same services. Thank you.
Another question back there? And we'll have to cut this off pretty quick.
Hi, I'm Bradley Johnson, 11316 Lansing Street, Henderson, River Run West. I came in here having part of my mind made up, but if you, Delilah, could provide me with, in the spirit of making an informed voting decision, do you have information about the length of the term of the bonds the city would be buying to finance this, and would there be a sunset feature built into the bonds, so retiring the tax when the bonds are paid off?
So I can answer the second part. The sunset clause, so let me back up a little bit. QCI was put together, and we were looking at a number of initiatives that in needs for our community. And there were a list this long of things that needed to be done. And based on the feedback from the community, we kind of narrowed our list down to these 5 projects, because those were the ones that were the highest, they were voted on the most. They received the most approval for these activities, but there's still a nice long list of other things that need to happen. There are road improvements that need to happen, not just Tower Road, but there are other sections of the city. So when we made the recommendation to council, we gave them our priorities. These are the ones that we want to start with. As far as sunsetting the 1%, we left it open. We did not put a sunset on it, because once the 5 are done, there's still other items on the list that need to be taken care of. And so we wanted to make sure that council knew that even though we're going to get these 5, or these are our top priority, and these other issues are still large concerns for our community. And we need to, once we get those 5 done, we need to make sure that we go back and we take a look at our list. So we're not giving you, a partial, upgrade to our community. We want to make sure that all of the issues that plague our community are addressed. And so that's the reason why there is not a sunset. As far as the amount or the length of term on the bond, I'm not exactly sure how long it would be for the repayment.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's time to go on to the school district, so we'll cut those questions off. Is Connie Quintana here?
I just talked to her. She's still tied up. She's hoping to break loose pretty quick. My fingers crossed.
Okay. Well, let's do the city council. Let's do council before we do the school board, so we'll change that. We'll get the place cards set up, and thank you folks for helping us. Thank you very much. So if we can have a new group of people, the council candidates up here, that would be great. Yes, who are we missing? Renee?
Thank you.
Let's see, we have Andrew Amador, Jean Leffel, J.D. Carson, Harvest Thomas, Jason McEldowney, Renee, I know he's in the audience, but he's not up here, and Robert Toves. So, oh, they're out in the hallway? Come on, this is timed. We've got to get going. Okay, here comes Renee and here comes Robert Toves, so we'll have a full house. Each of the council people will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves and a 1-minute summation after this is over, and questions will be asked in between. So we have the at-large candidates over there, so let's see, Harvest Thomas, can you start it out?
Yes. How everybody doing tonight? My name is Harvest Thomas. I am running for City Council at large for Commerce City. I've been living in Commerce City for over 12 years, 15 years in Commerce City in Colorado. My goal to be City Council at large is to represent the whole entire city, not to sit and bicker about the north and the south, the core. I campaign to work hard for this city. My goal is to bring this city to a better place, take that stereotype image away from Commerce City. I want the people to understand that Commerce City is a beautiful place to live. Work hard with the council that's present, with the mayor, and all the citizens. I do have a degree, an MBA in finance and accounting, and the reason I bring that up is numbers. I want to look at the numbers, see what we can improve on, not sit here and understand, oh, a rec center here, a rec center there. But no, we want to do what's best for the city. We don't want to sit in 2 weeks before up north we're supposed to get to get the streets piled, for the rocks to go on to get the streets paved. That don't make sense when you argue about this. We need, as citizens, to work together as one, work with the school board as one, work with the fire department as one. You heard Mr. Sanchez come up here and say, our kids in Commerce City do not have calculators. How sad is that? But we in here bickering, not working together as one. Our kids, our seniors is our #1 priority, and we should be ashamed of ourselves as residents of Commerce City not working for those kids. Instead, that's why I'm running for Commerce City City Council at large, just to let everybody know I'm working to benefit every person in the city to live a quality life. Thank you.
Jason, you want to go next?
Thank you, and good evening, and thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Jason McEldowney, and I'm a current Commerce City City Councilman. Have been seated for 6.5 years now. I began my career on council by filling a vacancy, and then ran in 2009. And I find myself in a position or the opportunity to run again. And after 6.5 years on council, I'm still incredibly passionate about our community, about the potential that our community has. I mean, we've heard it from any number of comments tonight. We have a unique city in many respects. We face some incredible potential in terms of growth, and I want to make sure that Commerce City continues to grow into the vital and balanced and diverse community that we all want it to be. During my time on council, I've worked hard to gain the in-depth knowledge of the city operations, the finances, what our strengths and weaknesses are, and I understand those, and I'm able to apply my experience from my day job to, I think, bring a unique perspective to council. Help us challenge the traditional thinking, make sure that we're looking deeper into issues and taking the longer look at at decisions that we make. Mr. Thomas cited the pavement management program, and those are perfect examples of things that we've got to be considering from a policy perspective that historically haven't come before council or council hasn't asked to look at. That said, I believe for our city to realize its full potential as a livable, viable, and secure place to work and raise our kids, that we as leaders must focus on improving the city as a whole through efforts that reinforce the positives of Commerce City. Our actions and our commitment to creating the best environment we can in close partnership with our fellow districts, schools, fire, water, will ensure our future success and long-term sustainability of our community. I believe that now more than ever we need proven leadership that can bring people from across the community to the table and to engage and involve them in the process of shaping the community. I assume I was cut off, or am I able to finish?
8 seconds.
I'll pick it up here at the end. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. And Robert, do you want to
Welcome.
go ahead?
My name is Robert Taves. I'm running for City Council at large. I was thinking that there was going to be an open seat when I came up here to run. Come to find out I didn't. I want to welcome you all here. I want to welcome the Mayor, Sean Ford. I want to thank everybody for going ahead and having us up here. I was running for City Council at large because I do believe that this city here does have a lot of potential for growth. It does have a lot of ways to go ahead and go. I believe in going ahead and protecting our children. I believe in going ahead and protecting our people. I do believe that Jason Malkadowny has got a lot of good points in it, and I do believe Mr. Bullock here is going to bring up a bunch of others. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to him. I'm not going to go ahead and run too much against these two here. I believe myself personally that they are very good people here. I've been watching them for I've been watching this man for 6 years. I've been watching this man over here for the last 4. I do believe that both of these men have got really good potential for the city. I've been watching them go ahead and build up this stuff. There is a lot of other things that I do believe that they need to look at, and I believe that they have been looking at. So, ladies and gentlemen, please excuse me. I'm going to step down at this point in time. I'm going to let Mr. McAdowney and Mr. Bullock take over. Have a good day.
Thank you. And Renee, if you would go ahead.
Good evening. I want to thank you all for coming. My name is Renee Bullock. I'm a current city councilman at large here in Commerce City. I have lived here for 29 years. I'm a retired employee from United Airlines. I worked here in the Commerce City at the Deck Superstore right over on 64th Avenue for 5 years. And I believe that Commerce City is a great city. And I also believe that we presently have a great city council that is seated. And so my objective in running is to move Commerce City from the shadow of Denver to the great city that it deserves to be. I have been on council for off and on for over 12 years. I've started in Ward 1, I've run in, at large, and I'm presently the mayor pro tem. On boards and commission, I'm on the Commerce City Rotary, Housing Authority, the Sand Creek Regional Greenway, the CML Policy Committee, Water Advisory, Friends of the Front Range Refuges, Liquor Board. Matter of fact, I sometimes ask myself, how do I have the time to do all the boards and commissions that I'm on? Why I'm running? I'm running because Commerce City is a city in the shadow of Denver that needs to move out of this shadow and become a city in its own right. We have a lot of potential. We have some major barriers like the Rocky Mountain Arsenal that sit right between the north and south, but that doesn't make us two cities. That just makes us one great city. Currently, Commerce City has city council seated has a very favorable rating with the citizens of Commerce City. I would like to see that rating increase. I would like to see the projects that the Commerce City Council has on the boards keep moving, and Commerce City become the city that it deserves to be in the area. The clock has stopped. I don't know where I'm at in time.
You know, we forgot to start the clock.
Oh, you forgot to start it? Okay, I'll start now. Okay.
No, you can't do that.
Thank you for coming. My name is Renee Bullock. Okay. Okay.
So we estimate it was, what, 15, 20 seconds before we started the clock, and then it didn't move.
Where am I at? Am I done? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Now we have Ward 3, J.D. Carson.
Hi, I'm J.D. Carson, currently the seated councilwoman for Ward 3. I would like to start out by telling everybody what a privilege it has been to sit here for the past 4 years. And I would continue to feel that it is quite a privilege to continue serving the citizens of Ward 3. I really would like to continue the work that we have started. 2 years ago, we, with a unanimous vote from the council that is seated today, formed a newly formed youth commission. And the work that those commissioners have done, I would love to be able to sit there and continue working with them. They've come together. It's youth from throughout the city. They are getting ready to write their master plan. With that master plan, that will give them a map for the youth, for direction for the city councilors, for city staff, for future commissioners to go forward and identify what the needs and issues are for youth in our city. Youth are a very important part in our city. I do believe that sometimes they're overlooked. If you want to know what's going on in your city, go talk to the youth there. As we heard from the superintendent, children are very important. They are the future. We say it's a quality community for a lifetime. We need to start at a very young age. The next thing that is I would love to continue working with the seniors and the issues that evolve around the seniors. We have moved a lot of things in a much more positive direction for the seniors in the city. It's a very energizing time to sit on council. This last 2 years, I can tell you very proudly, I walk throughout the city when I go to NLC, CML, and I am very proud to be a Commerce City councilor. This council has been, am I really done? Okay.
Thank you, J.D. We'll go on to Gene Leffel. He's running for Ward 1.
Hello, my name's Gene Leffel. I'm running for Ward 1. I live over at 6530 Brighton Boulevard. It's been brought to my attention there was some question about that. Been over there for over 30 years. Raised my family here in this city. I became interested in some city council affairs a number of years ago, a little over 10 years ago. Since then, I've attended all the council meetings, start to finish, about 445 council meetings at this point that I've attended, all the study sessions, many other related meetings that were held. I believe I've taken quite a bit of time to educate myself on the issues that face the city and become familiar with those challenges that we all face. I'm here to represent the people of the city. I don't represent special interest groups. I don't have any agendas. I feel Commerce City is truly a diamond in the rough. I always have for over the 30 years that I've lived here. I've seen a continuous improvement in this city, and I would like to, in what I can, help pay the city back for my life here, my entire adult life that I've spent here in the city. Raised my 2 kids here. They still live here in the city as well. And I want to make sure that they have a bright future, all the opportunities that possibly could be made available to them as for every other person in this city. I really believe we are the greatest city. Everything is here anybody could possibly need. You just have to open your eyes, use the resources that are available to you, and you will find yourself in the most beautiful place ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. And Andrew?
Thank you. My name is Andrew Amador. I'm from Commerce City, Colorado. I was raised here. I am a product of Adams 14. I raised my family here. I have children here. Currently, I sit on the City Council through appointment. I'm currently serving out Dominic Moreno, who was the councilman for Ward 1, who is now a state representative. It's an honor to fill his vacancy. He's a good person. My entire life, 38 years, I have been here. My family has raised me here. My grandparents live here. I've seen a lot of change from when Commerce City was farms, a majority of farms, and I've watched the development come through Commerce City. I never saw myself getting involved in local politics, but today here I am. And it has been an honor and a blessing to be a part of the existing City Council. We work tremendously well together. The city is moving in a positive direction. We're not being stagnant. With some of the ballot measures that are here, I'm in full support of 3C, the educational part to the city, the fire department, the 5A. Currently, I sit on the Adams 14 Foundation, the Housing Authority, and I have resigned after 5 years for the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I just want to say thank you to everyone out there for allowing me to serve Commerce City.
Thank you, Mr. Amador. Questions? I guess that's me. On the incumbents, Renee, can you tell me why you feel you deserve to be reelected?
Thank you, Janet. I think I deserve to be reelected because when I was elected 4 years ago, I made a promise to myself and to the citizens of Commerce City that we would do all we can to make this city a better city within the 4 years that we were in office. Our first two issues were the Youth Commission and seniors. The most important and fragile parts of our society are youth and seniors. And we said that if we take care of those, everything else will fall into line. What we have, I presently serve on the Commerce City Youth Commission. And we have had a senior advisory board that reports back to the City Council quarterly. The Commerce City Youth Commission will be reporting back to the City Council quarterly. We also now have a historical society in Commerce City that I'm a charter member of, and that is watching over the history of Commerce City, so what that we have here, we won't lose. Because the most important thing that we want to do is you keep your history of your city so people will have a culture to look back to and grow from. And so I feel like all the promises I made to myself and to the citizens, we are coming through with, and we're even adding to it with 2K, our Citizens Initiative. Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, JD, I'm going to ask you the same question. Why do you feel you deserve to be reelected?
Not to reiterate what Mr. Bullock said, but I do feel that we've been very productive at going forward with all of the goals that we were seated here with. My campaign literature 4 years ago talked about the youth and talked about the seniors and how important they were. Talked about sustainability. Talked about how I did believe that I was a person who could come in and work with anyone and work in a positive manner to move the city forward. I do believe that we have done a lot in a very short period, And I believe that this council has really strived to go out and reach the citizens and try to really communicate in a way that they know what we're doing and we can hear from them. And I think you see that through the QCI being formed. Council didn't want to just make decisions of how the city should move forward, but we wanted the city to be involved in that. And so I really feel that I have kept my promises and would like to continue the work.
Thank you. Mr. Amador, I'm going to ask you the same question. Why do you feel you deserve to be reelected or to be elected for the first time?
Thank you. So I feel that I should be elected for Commerce City in Ward 1 because I have a skill set as an architect to think outside of the box and understand what a city's needs are. Managing growth is definitely going to be one of the city's challenges, and that just comes natural to me, understanding the built environment from a state level, a local level, and all the way down to an individual building or built environment space. You know, I believe the core city and in Ward 1, as the growth happens, balancing the Northern Range's needs and the core city's needs will be integral. So basically I'm asking to be elected because I carry honesty, I carry integrity, and I feel I can help manage and direct the city through competence.
Jason McAdally, why do you feel you deserve to be reelected?
Thank you. I mentioned in my opening comments that I had done my best to learn everything that I possibly could about the city. When I came on council as an appointee, you carry a significant burden because you're an appointee. You're chosen by a council, not by your citizens. And so I felt an intense duty to my citizens to prove that I was the right guy for the job. I can remember that first year in particular spending Fridays down at the Civic Center with Public Works, Transportation, or Finance, et cetera, to learn as much as I possibly could. In the time that I've been on council, I believe, contributed to a more methodical, more focused, more goal-based approach to city council. Our retreat formats, from the time I came on board to the retreats that we've seen over the last several years, have produced an incredible focus and alignment of objectives and goals by this council that translate directly into how our city staff approach their marching orders for the year. It's given us an ability to...
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Harvest Thomas, why do you feel that the voters should vote on you instead of one of these guys?
The reason I feel the voters can count on me is you're going to get somebody that's honest, somebody going to talk to you, shake your hand, and you're going to see the sincereness in my voice, in my eyes, and understand what you need. These gentlemen up here, as you say, are incumbents. The gentleman just gave them endorsement. He just quit. He quit on 25 people that signed this petition. I'm not a quitter. I'm running against two incumbents. And I'm going to fight hard every day until November the 5th to let you know that Harvest Thomas is running for city council at large. And also to let you know, they got they polished, got everything you want to know about city council. But one thing they haven't told you, one thing about, is the sincerity of the people in Commerce City that y'all want.
Jean Level, why do you feel voters should vote for you over Mr. Amador?
Well, I think the people have spoken in past elections where I've done very well. I am a person of the people. I don't place myself above the people of Ward 1. That's where I live, and I am one of those people. I have 55 years of life experience. I spent my entire adult life here in Commerce City. I spent 10 years learning firsthand, in person, the workings of the city by going to the council meetings. I also sat on the Board of Adjustment. I currently sit on the Board of Adjustment. over 7 years. I've never missed a single meeting on the Board of Adjustment. I'm there every time. They know they can count on me. And the people of Commerce City want somebody that will be there. I will be here. I have a phone and it works. You can call me. You can come by my place anytime. And I'll be accessible for the people of Ward 1, and I intend to work for them. I do not have other obligations. My sole obligation would be to the people of Ward 1. Thank you.
You're through, Gene. Thank you.
I thought maybe that timer had quit again or something.
No, it works good. Mr. Amador, do you feel that Commerce City should have its own cemetery? And why do you feel so, or why do you feel we shouldn't?
So the question is, do I feel that Commerce City should have its own cemetery?
Yes.
Wow, nice question. Commerce City does have the land for a cemetery. Out of respect to the residents who have lived here their entire life, and if their wish is to live here and also be buried here after they have been here in their entire life, I believe they shouldn't be denied that opportunity. So I would say that Commerce City can and probably should have their own cemetery. I don't see any reason why that should be a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Gene, I know you've heard this question before, but can you tell us how you feel on that subject?
Well, I'd like to thank Norm Union for asking this same question at every forum for the last 4 years. Well, we kind of do have a cemetery. It's right down over by my place. It's Riverside Cemetery, a portion of which is in Commerce City. Now, the practicality of anybody getting buried there, I'm not so sure that that's available or not. But why shouldn't we have a cemetery? There's absolutely no reason we should not have a cemetery here in Commerce City. I mean, we've got dogs buried over on 72nd Avenue. The pets get a cemetery. Perhaps maybe the people should have the same thing, a cemetery for the people. So, yes, Norm, I think we should have a cemetery so you won't have to worry through any more of these seminars about what's going to happen to you, okay?
Okay, J.D., can you answer the same question?
I was wondering if we all were going to get that question. I've never thought about it, if you want the honest truth. Honestly, I don't know. I think that's something that we would have to go out and talk to citizens, because it does require a fair amount of land that you're going to donate to that. I can honestly understand why people would want to have a cemetery so that you could be buried in the city that you were living in. But in the 4 years that I've been seated on council, I've never been asked that question before. I've never had a citizen come to me with the desire that council would start looking into that. So it did take me by shock. If it's something that we find out since the question's been asked tonight, I don't know, maybe there'll be a drive now in citizens wanting us to pursue this. But if citizens want it, I'm sure this council could find a way to do it.
Thank you, J.D. Renee, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay. Thank you. Commerce City has 3 cemeteries within its borders: Riverside, Rose Hill, and the Pet Cemetery. There are a lot of cities in the metro area that are larger than Commerce City that don't have their own cemetery. Aurora's one, Westminster's one, North Glen is one. They have cemeteries within their boundaries, but they're not cemeteries that everybody can be buried at. This question has come up many times at forums in this situation. I believe that a lot of people in Commerce City want to spend their time and end their time in Commerce City. If the land was donated, I think that we should put a cemetery in Commerce City that is dedicated to the residents of Commerce City. Brighton has one that the residents of Brighton can be buried at. I truly believe if we could have someone that would dedicate the land, Norm, we should have a cemetery.
And Jason, I'm going to ask you the same question.
So I don't get to show that I actually knew that there were 3 cemeteries, because it's been answered so many times now. But I think the interesting piece about this question is that, as Mr. Bullock pointed out, typically it's not a municipal responsibility to establish and maintain a cemetery. When I think of cemeteries through the metro area, typically they're a denominational operation. You've got Fairmont Cemetery, you've got Mount Olive, you've got Rose Hill. Many of these are denominational in nature, and so to think about a cemetery here, well, absolutely. If we've got an appropriate piece of land where the land use is suited to that purpose, and we have somebody who is willing to make the investment and in operating such a facility, let's bring it through the process and see if that should happen. I don't, though, see it as the city's responsibility to lead the charge on establishing a cemetery. I don't know that that's at the top of our list. We've got, as we heard earlier, a long list of projects to tackle, limited resources in terms of staff and time, and it may not be the highest in my mind on that list.
And you get to answer the same question as well.
Thank you. Cemeteries, I believe we should have one, but my projective would be let's bring some more things to the city that we can move on. Let's bring some more sit-down restaurants to the city that we can do. A cemetery, I agree we need one, but let's do some things in the city that we need to bring to this city. We let a billionaire get away with 997 acres of our front property on Quebec. What we got to do with that? We gave a billionaire $5 million incentive. Yes, I took it away from a cemetery because it seemed like that's what he put us in, a cemetery. It's time for us Commerce City residents to raise up as one, and let's be one. Yes, we do need a cemetery, but we don't need to be in the cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you. JD, could you identify at least one city ordinance or policy that you feel is badly in need of revising and or revoking?
Yes, and it could be a little controversial with some. It is the ice cream vendor is illegal in the city. I do believe that needs to be relooked at. I think it's old and antiquated, and it's the only one that we've actually singled out as a vendor in the streets. So I do know that, like I said, in the 12 years I've lived in River Run, we've had an ice cream vendor driving through the streets every single summer. So why have an ordinance if it's not being taken care of? I don't believe that we want to use our police resources in that manner either. So that's fairly easy for me.
Thank you, JD. Jason, please identify at least one city ordinance or policy you feel is badly in need of revising and or revoking.
It's a tough question. I think we've touched on so many fine-tunings of city ordinances over the time that I've been on. It's difficult to think of one in particular that I would want to eradicate. Trying to think of a good example. The household. Adults in the household was an ordinance that passed early on in my tenure, and I think in terms of ordinances that have the potential to be both a good and a bad thing, that one I guess continues to come back in my mind as one that I would like to be able to go back to the discussions that we had on how we arrived at that point. I understand in hindsight the factors that went into not wanting to have a dozen people living in a home, but at the same time, the family unit has changed over time. We have non-traditional family units that may conflict with how that ordinance allows folks to habitate. And so I think that may be one that warrants that discussion.
Okay, thank you. Jean, identify at least one city ordinance or policy you feel is badly in need of revising and or revoking.
Well, I hate to pick on any one certain ordinance, but I'm pretty sure everybody knows in here I wasn't real fond of the 6-inch weed ordinance. which now has been changed to 8 inches. I'd like to think I might have had a little help in that. But really, on the matter of the ordinances, we've got ordinances on the books which are not enforced or are enforced in a selective manner. I don't feel that's appropriate. If it's fair for you, it's fair for me, and it's fair for everybody else. But some of these ordinances are impractical to enforce. Mr. McEldowney cited the occupancy standards. Nobody's ever done any bed checks. We really, other than running some people out over on Highway 2 a few Thanksgivings back, we haven't done a lot of things with that ordinance. So I think there's a lot of ordinances that need to be looked over in regards to the feasibility of fairly and equally enforcing those ordinances. And that would be my thinking. And we could look at a whole bunch of those ordinances and probably get rid of a few right then. Thank you.
Harvest, can you identify at least one city ordinance or policy that you feel is badly in need of revising or revoking?
Yes, I do. I think it's the homeowners that's letting renters rent their places in the city. When homeowners that don't even live in the city let renters go, they don't cut the grass, they don't care, they party all night long. For residents that live in the city, they bust their butts trying to keep their yards up, keep everything manicured. You got somebody that don't care, taking money from renters. That need to be changed immediately. That need to be changed ASAP when this council come back to look at this. Because they don't care about what's going on in Commerce City. All they is picking up a paycheck. We are the residents in this city, care about this city that's here. So that ordinance need to be changed, not now, ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Amador, can you answer the same question?
Yes, I can. One of the ordinances that I believe that has to be reevaluated would be the ordinance that prohibits livestock within the city. It is very general indeed, and really the part to it that I take a lot of phone calls on is chickens in the city. That being said, I think Commerce City should align with some of the other jurisdictions. Denver is one that comes to mind for me within a urban garden. But there's a value in having and teaching your children to raise animals and be able to go pick the eggs that they help raise the chickens. So that's one of them. I don't agree with changing the entire ordinance, but I think pieces and parts need to be up for more interpretation.
Thank you. Mr. Bullock?
Yes, ma'am. The one ordinance I would look at and would want to change is we have a liquor ordinance that states that like businesses can't be within 2,500 feet of each other. In saying that, what it does, I would leave the ordinances together to say 2 liquor stores should have at least a 2,500-foot separation. But this also encompasses restaurants and taverns, and in doing so, we couldn't have a Fridays next to an Applebee if this ordinance was brought out to its full extent, because those are 2 like businesses that butt heads in the liquor ordinance. I would like to see which council is going to be receiving this ordinance and changing it, and I would like to see that we make it so appropriate so the businesses that we want to have come here in Commerce City will be able to come and won't feel like they are butting heads with each other.
Thank you, Renee. Do we have any questions from the audience?
About the city being one of the larger employers, yet the percentage of employees who live in the city is very small. If any of you are elected, what policies would you propose to city council to help our local residents get more jobs with the city? Has everyone ever able to hear that?
Oh, let me see. I'll give that question to Renee.
Oh, you can give it to a lot of us, because there's a lot of us that can comment on this question. There are a lot of, Mr. Cerna, we will answer your question next. There are a lot of citizens that live in this city that do work for this city, but people don't know who they are because they're in different departments: public works, public safety, recreation. I know for a fact that we have quite a number of citizens that live within our boundaries that work for our city. What I would love to see is that we have more affordable housing so people that are on the high end of the income level can afford houses, and we have more, we can shape it so we can bring the children of employees back to the city, because we've priced out either the housing is too low or is too expensive for people in their first-time jobs.
Thank you. Jason?
It's a difficult question because, again, the direct responsibility of the city council is not the city staff. We have 3 employees: the judge, the city manager, and the city attorney. And so when it comes to policies, procedures, practices that govern our employees, that's the domain of our city manager. That said, the city has had a really, I think, unique and strong program that has incented employees to live in the city, and that is the ability to provide a home loan to employees within the community that choose to purchase a home in the community, and that loan is forgiven after a period of time of living in this city. And so I can't think of a better way in terms of an existing policy that helps incentivize somebody to purchase here. And I don't believe that that policy has any dependency on new construction versus existing construction. So it allows somebody to use those dollars toward whatever their choice of home might be. And again, I think to Ms.
Not to be disrespectful to Jason, but I believe the citizens is our employees, not 3, all the citizens in Commerce City. We work for them. So my question would be, for the citizens that do work for the city, we need to do more to make people want to stay here. You take our money, your paychecks, and you go on. You leave the city. You spend your money, your revenue somewhere else. We need to bring more quality jobs in this city for the residents. We need to work harder with the citizens to work for the city. You got seasonal workers to clean the parks. How come we can't bring them on full time? How can we bring the kids to work summer jobs in the city? Give them part-time jobs to work. We can do a lot of things in this city to keep the residents and the people that are working in this city in this city.
Thank you. Mr. Amador?
Could you repeat the question just one more time so I'm completely clear?
Can you repeat the question, Mr. Union?
Yeah, talk about the city being one of the larger employers, yet the percentage of employees who live in the city is very small. If, in your case, you're reelected, what policies would you propose to city council to help our local residents get more jobs with the city?
Thank you. I would say that, yes, there is, from the stats that I understand, there is a low amount of employees that work within the city of Commerce City. I believe that the city could incentivize and give priority to qualified people who live in Commerce City. That way they do live here, that they do work here, and they will play here. That being said, with good economic development and providing affordable housing and transportation for the residents would definitely help be an incentive that the city could help our residents so that they are employed through the city. Thank you.
Gene?
Well, I think it's an interesting question. I believe Denver had a program, not that many years back, where all the city employees had to live in the city. They retired that program. It didn't seem to work. I certainly think that anybody that lives in the city should be given the first shot at city jobs. Certainly, hire from within, hire the people, protect those that live here in the city, but certainly not to exclude others. So I think the real question is not jobs provided by the city per se, but jobs that are provided within the city, quality, high-paying jobs provided within the city by all employers. The city can't employ everybody, but we can bring in more businesses and make better jobs available to the residents of our city. That's the solution to get the thing done. Don't follow the same failure as Denver already made a boo-boo on.
J.D.?
I'm not sure that I think it's appropriate that the city would mandate, for one, that their employees live within the city. And I'm not sure that we should only be hiring people who live within the city. I think working families everywhere, we need to be very in tune to the needs there. We as a city, we need to be an exemplary employer, I do believe. We need to pay a living wage, benefits. Mr. Thomas did speak about seasonal employees. We do need to take a look at that. The other thing that what we can really do for the citizens in our city is to make sure our children are getting an education, because if our children are educated, they can go out and get quality jobs, whether those are the jobs with the city or somewhere else. And I will say that in our schools, you'll find that the largest majority of our school employees do live within the city. So,
Do you have another question, Norm, from the audience? Guillermo?
Maybe a question for every one of the candidates. Will the children in Commerce City have to wait another 10 years for the Boys and Girls Club to at least get started? 10 years is a long time to wait. And what will you do to get this done by the year 2014, at least starting it? Just the question.
Jason?
I don't have my notes in front of me, but I believe from our most recent update from staff and from the Boys and Girls Club representatives who were just here before council within about the last 6 months, the capital campaign has kicked off and has actually gotten off to a really strong start. I believe the projections had work beginning potentially within the next couple of years. So in terms of what the city can do, I want to make very clear, the city doesn't turn the dirt, the city doesn't build the building. We've got to create an environment that's going to make it happen. And I think this council, particularly over the last 3-4 years, has done everything we possibly can, as Mr. Cerna knows, to ensure that we've got the support of Mr. Perlmutter and others, and including putting up our own financial and staff resources to help make this happen. So I think the responsibility of council to make this happen is to continue that active effort and ensure that we follow through on those commitments, because to your point, it's been a long, long time in coming.
Thank you. Do you want to speak to that, Jay?
yeah, Mr. Cerna, thank you for always thinking about the children. And I did just ask that question not too long ago. The city has fulfilled its commitment, dollar-wise, with what we had said that we would do. I think it was said to me that they were about halfway to the goal of the amount of money they needed to raise to start breaking ground. So anything that any of us can do to help move that further, I would be more than happy to step up and help, because yes, we do need to get that started. But the city has, like I said, we've donated the land and we have fulfilled the commitment to the dollar amount. And so my understanding is the rest is now up to the Boys and Girls Club. And thank you because I know you go out and do a lot of work for them.
Do you want to speak to this question?
Yes. Tagging on to what Ms. Carson said, she's absolutely correct. And in meeting with the Boys and Girls Club this summer, with the World Venture Foundation that contributes to the Boys and Girls Club, it is going to be sooner than later. I would guarantee in 2014 we will be doing groundbreaking for the Boys and Girls Club in Commerce City. We are well on our way, and we are less than $300,000 away from groundbreaking, which will be shortly. But 2014 will be your year, and you will be there, Mr. Cerner, for that groundbreaking.
Thank you. Does anybody, Jean, do you want to speak to it? Mr. Amador does? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Guillermo, not to reiterate what others have said, but yes, the city has contributed. They have donated land. And to answer your question, what can the city do from a council perspective, I believe that council and the city manager can also help expedite permits in a timely fashion, and we can watch that with our own eyes to make sure that the cooperation is happening and that the project does move forward in a timely manner. So that's something that I believe we can do. Whoever's on council can help move that forward, both in the near future.
Thank you. Jean, do you want to speak?
Thank you. Well, to answer Guillermo's question, no, the children absolutely should not have to wait 10 more years. That's ridiculous. It wasn't all that long ago when Mr. Cerna, myself, I believe Mr. Quintana, walked door to door for a whole summer, collected signatures to get a Boys and Girls Initiative on the ballot. Unfortunately, that initiative was defeated. For those who have been keeping track, had that initiative passed, that tax would be nearly over today. We'd be in the last year. It had a sunset on it, and you'd have your Boys and Girls Club now. So no, the children should not have to wait 10 more years. They shouldn't even have to wait 10 more minutes. They're our future. Those children are the future of Commerce City. Why not give them everything we can any possible way? They're going to be who's taking care of us in a few more years. Give them what they deserve.
Thank you, Jean. Harvest?
Mr. Cerner, I don't have the facts as the incumbents have, what they know, but I will tell you as a man-to-man is, I will look hard into it, because as you see, the dog track been sitting there for over 3 years with this council, so that's probably where your concern is, because there's no development to go there. So I understand where the 10 years come. So that's what the 10 years question is, because the dog track is supposed to sit on the dog track. That's where the problem is. There's no development yet. So you might say 7 years. We don't know who's going to get the money. We hear all this going to happen in 14. This is election talk. We don't know. But what I can tell you is I will look into it, and I'll come back to you and let you know what's going on. Thank you.
I asked that question because we have a recreation center in perspective for the whole city. And by the time that we finished with the one here, we'll need one up in the northern area. Those children also need a Boys and Girls Club. And I would not want to wait another 10 years to get that up there. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Guillermo.
I do not want to get on a...
Yeah. What, it's okay. You want to speak again?
I just wanted to acknowledge Mr. Cerna's point. The question sounded like it was focused on the longstanding discussions about the Boys and Girls Club here in the core part of the city. In terms of the Northern Range, I agree on the growth, and one of the things that wasn't mentioned in the ballot initiative discussion earlier on 2K is that the rec center, as proposed, the site that's been chosen for, or that's being looked at, was chosen explicitly so that it could scale and grow and have community space. So in terms of being able to plug in a program like Boys and Girls Club in that facility upon its opening, and to be able to look at whether or not that building should grow to accommodate a more dedicated piece of facilities, or, facilities to help provide that. Those are the things that would be ideal to look at once we get 2K passed and can put a building up there that we could begin that kind of a program through. So, thanks.
Thank all of you.
Thank you. And I have another question coming forward.
Is this like city council? Should we give our name and address? Okay. Adrian Schimpf. My address is 6081 Locust Street, Commerce City, Colorado. I'm also a proud member of the Board of Education for one more month for Adams 14. Ms. Carson alluded to it. Part of a great city is a great education, a great educational base. So my question is, what ideas in perspective, or with respect to the Youth Commission that Paulo Diaz started?
Pull the microphone up a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
With respect to the Youth Commission like Paulo Diaz started, I think that's been a successful program. So as a member of City Council going forward, what ideas would you champion to develop the future leaders, to partner with your 2 school districts? And I got to be honest with my personal preference, my 7,500 kids, to help develop these future leaders, the future business owners, the people that will be leading the city, governing the city, making the city what it will be in the future. What would you champion?
Thank you. Should we wind it up for the city council? You have? Go ahead.
Thank you for bringing that. I do believe that when we start working on what is, the Youth Commission is going to start putting together the master plan. That master plan will be put together citywide with both school districts. I do believe that a plan such as that will start to identify the items that you're talking about. How is it that we cultivate certain things for youth in our city in order for them to achieve greatness? So when you ask what would I champion, I guess that I would continue to champion through the Youth Commission that I do believe that this is the where to take us forward, to take our youth into a direction to where they can start identifying these things. This master plan will not just be done by the youth. It will be encompassed by everyone in our city. We will ask adults of all ages to sit on this committee putting this master plan together. Businesses, hopefully those of you involved in the schools would also get involved in it. But thank you.
Well, do we want to go to, why don't we go to summation? I have a few more questions. On the time, I don't know, is Connie here? Oh, you want to have the time? Okay. No, go ahead then. Go ahead and answer. It's bringing my medicine.
Adrian, you asked what I would champion. I would be a champion for youth, because the most important thing you can do with youth is to listen and be a good listener and see where they want to go and then help them move in that direction. Like Ms. Carson said, the master plan is set before the Youth Council now, is a roadmap for future generations. There will be generations of youth that will be standing on the shoulder of the youth now that are putting this roadmap together. So when we have 2 school districts that are dynamic with the youth that they are sending to our youth commission, and I feel so honored just to be a part of it, because I can only get better by listening to the youth of our community.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you. In terms of championing efforts for the youth, we've obviously heard about the efforts around the Youth Commission. I've placed a personal focus on schools. When I came on council, and as a new resident to Commerce City, the proud tradition of Adams 14 is unmatched versus where I grew up or otherwise. It's phenomenal. What I didn't see when I came on council was a tight relationship between our city council and our other school district that represents fully half of our population. And so I set out from the beginning to try and form those relationships with the board and the administration at that district. Since then, we've seen joint and regular board meetings that not only sit down between our board and the 27J board, but also our fellow municipalities that make up the 27J school district. In terms of specific efforts that I'm driving right this minute, I sit on the Capital Facility Fee Foundation, which is an effort to drive a collection of capital to build new schools, which are sorely needed in the new part of town. Just to wrap this up, there's an accountability component that's missing in our district, particularly up north, and to bring the community and particularly our businesses into that discussion to help us elevate the quality and caliber of our schools.
Thank you. I have a couple of more questions here. Renee, do you favor or oppose the city at some point trying to take over the water district? And why or why not?
That is a very interesting question. The key to that question is the cost that would go with it. The cost that would go with taking over the water district with all of its infrastructure and everything would be astronomical. If the time and the situation comes where it would be in the joint benefit for both, for the city to take it over and the water district to let it go, I would say it would be a good fit. But at this time, knowing the revenues that the city has and everything, it is not something that we could financially do without putting ourselves in a very dire hardship. So if the time comes, I would love to see it happen, but I would love to see it happen under the perfect conditions, because you don't want to do anything halfway and then just dig yourself into a hole where the more you dig, the deeper you get.
Thank you. Mr. Amador, can you answer that question?
I would have to agree with Renee. That's a very double-edged sword question, and how do you manage something like that? I would say if the city was able to take that over and maintain it adequately, that would be the ideal situation. Currently, I don't believe that the city has the resources to do that. So if this were to ever come across council, it would have to be a win situation, not only from the perspective that we have now acquired or would acquire the water district, but can we maintain it? And maintenance is something that most people don't look at. And so if it were to come up, it would have to be a win situation for the city.
Thank you. Mr. Leffel, could you answer that question?
Well, I'll attempt. I don't think the water district wants to be taken over by the city. It wasn't that many years ago when a contingency came in and tried to effectively create that situation. I think right after that, most of those members of the water board were recalled and aren't there anymore. I did have a discussion with a gentleman about this very thing recently, and he did make some good points about duplication of services. He also brought into that same conversation that there's many services and duplication with other entities within the city. Right now, I don't think the city, as everybody, Mr. Bullock and Mr. Amador stated, is really prepared to take on taking over the water board. I think this really comes down to the availability of water taps to developers is what the real crux of this question is about.
Thank you, Gene. Harvest, can you answer that question?
Yes. I don't feel that the city should take over the water board. I think the water board is doing an excellent job. I feel the water board doesn't need somebody meddling in their business. I do feel that when time comes, if the time do come, should the city and the water board work together to come as one, then let them do that. Let the city council and let the water board directors come together and let them discuss this. This shouldn't be discussed outside of the norm of business, but it is a good question. But from my point of view, I don't think that the city should have anything to do with the water board. Thank you.
Jason, you want to answer that?
Thank you. I don't think this is a question of takeover. I think, to Mr. Thomas's point, this is a question of a mutual decision. The point is, the water district, the fire department, the city, we all operate with the very same customers, right? The citizens that make up our community. The city's invested significantly over the last few years in terms of long-term planning, and I think what's needed is to enhance the interagency cooperation and planning so that together we're sitting down, we're looking at what are our challenges, what are the water district's challenges, what are the fire department's challenges, what are the school district's challenges for that matter, and where can we work together to accomplish those and overcome those challenges in a more efficient, more cost-effective way. If through joint planning people determine that a combination makes sense, that's for the end result of, I would think, a fairly lengthy effort of interagency cooperation that identifies why that may make sense. A takeover is not in anybody's best interest.
Thank you. JD, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, and I guess I'm not really I taking it over or not. It is difficult to do economic development in the city when you don't have your own water. Developers come in. We can try to work with them, but we don't get to set what the tap fees are. So we can't finish writing our own story. So it does make it very difficult. I think it would be much easier for us if we did have our own water. Feasible? I'm not sure it is feasible that we could do that. It would be a very costly thing. But I will say that the partnerships, as Mr. McEldowney said, there's people in the city that we deserve to be able to build these relationships with. And the water department in the city we should be having a workable program together where we can figure it out so developers don't have to go through the time that they do, and that we know what tap fees would be, that we work together as an entity in the same city. So.
Okay, one more question. Should the city continue to provide free residential trash service? Why or why not? And Mr. Amador, you want to go first on that?
Yes, thank you. So currently, the city does provide trash pickup for our residents. Understanding the dynamic of both the core city and the Northern Range, I believe that the city should maintain picking up the trash for the residents. I'll digress a little bit and be devil's advocate and say if some of the residents did not have that service, they probably couldn't afford that service on the outside, and if they could, would they pick up trash service, or what would our city turn into? So I believe that the city should maintain the trash services. I'm just playing devil's advocate on this particular question, but yes, I believe they should. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lathol?
Well, the short answer is absolutely the city should maintain free trash. We got to hear about this question every year at budget time. It's $1.8 million to pick up your trash. Okay, aren't you glad to have it gone? I mean, who wants a pile of trash sitting around their yard? Nobody. But I think we should go back and think about the 1% question that's on the ballot today and think about how free trash came to be in the first place. Okay, the city came along and said, hey, citizens, we'd like to put a 1% thing on there and raise your sales tax. We'll give you free trash if you go for it. And the citizens were smart. They said, hey, that's a heck of a deal. I don't want trash laying around my place. We'll do the 1% thing. Now, every year we got to hear about how much trash costs and how the thing's escalating. Well, you're escalating the same number of payers into the system as the cost. So yes, we should keep free trash forever.
Thank you, Gene.
You're welcome.
JD?
Yeah, I would say keep it. Yeah, the current council actually looked at this in depth. It's a costly thing to the city. It costs us just about exactly what we bring in taxes, the $2 million. It's one of the reasons why we have to go out to citizens and ask them to be creative and come up with ideas, and this is where the 2K ballot measure came from, because we don't have a food tax. We don't have a lot of things in the city. What we need to do better is make citizens understand that what the cost of the trash pickup is. It's not because many in the Northern Range think their HOA is actually paying for it and that they're paying for it through their HOA. So we need to do a much better job educating citizens about it is the city picking up the trash, what the cost of that trash is, and how much revenue the city actually gets out of your homeowner's tax. It's almost a wash. But yes, it's been a very good program for the city. The understanding was the city cleaned up, and I think Mr. Amador is correct. It's a cost that I think citizens appreciate, that they don't have to pay.
Thank you. Renee?
You know, everybody keeps saying free trash pickup. It's not free. We pay for this trash pickup. You citizens pay for this trash pickup with your property tax. And just like Ms. Carson said, it is a wash. The property tax that we collect is almost the same amount that is paid out to pick up trash in this city, but it's worth it. There was a time in Commerce City where there was 10 different trash companies picking up trash, and if somebody dumped it all over the street, you didn't know which company to call up and say, who did this? Commerce City went to the voters, and almost like what Gene said, it didn't have to do with a 1%, but it had to do with something with the rec center. And they agreed to have, okay, we'll have free trash, but it isn't free. So let's quit saying free. We are paying for our trash pickup, but it's a convenience to the citizens of Commerce City.
Thank you. Jason?
Don't want to echo too much of what Mr. Bullock just said. I completely agree. I mean, the trash is not free. It's a service that's necessary. I think it's one that we have to continue. I think Mr. Leffel's comment about we talk about it every year at the budget, I'm one of those that asks every year, how are we going to continue to fund this if we're not adding to or thinking about different ways to accomplish that. One of the things that our citizens, including Mr. Leffel through our recycling group, have talked about and tried to promote is a concept of pay-as-you-throw, which helps incentivize people to do the right thing through recycling, yet and divert more from the trash stream. The difficulty is that we don't have, in the current environment, an incentive for people to change that behavior because they don't know that they pay. They perceive it as free, and so it's difficult to say we're going to reduce the cost of trash because you've diverted more of your waste through a recycling program. So we're in a quandary in terms of how do you help people understand the cost of the program and decrease the program's cost to the city and continue to fund it.
Yes, we should continue to pay for the trash. Thank you.
Pardon?
Yes, we should continue to pay for the trash.
Thank you. I think we'll go to summation now. Each one of you gets 1 minute to say goodbye and why you want to be on council for the next 4 years. And we'll start with Mr. Amador.
I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone that is either watching or in the audience and taking the time tonight to listen to this forum. There are some great candidates up here, not to take anything away from anyone, I wish everyone here good luck on November 5th. And I've been truly blessed to be here in front of you today, to be appointed and to be on the current city council. The dynamic of the current city council is really good. We work together. This approval rating for the existing city council, I believe, is around 67%. And I believe that the citizens see that and they understand that this is a really good team to have in place. So thank you. Please vote for me.
Thank you. Gene?
Well, Janet, I'm not ready to say goodbye to the people. I'm ready to say hello to the people. Do you want somebody that's going to be here on the job? I can do it. I've got the experience. I don't have things to draw me away out of town. I don't have young children I have to babysit. I don't have a job I have to go to every day. I can make this Ward 1 my primary focus. That's what the people need to protect the people of Ward 1. It's going to be the most diverse ward in the city. It's already grown to bounds that I never imagined would be Ward 1, clear to 104th and Chambers, all the way down to 64th. You people of Ward 1 will need somebody here to represent you, to protect your interests, so you don't get lost in the shuffle of the big city growth. And you can always call me. You can always come by my place. I'll talk to you anytime. Just give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene. J.D.?
As you can see with tonight, when we started this out with the fire department, talking about a bond measure, the school district, the city, this is a changing time in Commerce City. Commerce City is going to look very different. And I hate to disagree with anybody, but Mr. Leffel, I don't think anybody that sits on this council now or in the past doesn't look at this as an entire city and that we try to protect the interest of all the citizens in the city. But it is an exciting time for Commerce City. The city is moving. We've already done this huge growth. It's time now to step back, catch up with that growth, figure out how it is that we build a community, because that is what needs to happen, is we are a community. We need to come together as one. I'm seeing that happen every day, more and more and more. It's growing pains, and the North and the South are melding together. So thank you, everyone in the city, for being part of this and for participating. It's a great city. Thank you.
Thank you, J.D. Renee?
First of all, I want to thank Janet, Norm, Maria, and the Commerce City Business and Professional Association for hosting this candidates forum. And I want to thank everybody that came out and everybody that's listening in on TV. I really enjoy sitting on this council. I enjoy the interact between the people on this council. I am presently seated and would like to continue working for the citizens of Commerce City. I will represent the citizens of Commerce City and do one thing that they always ask for: listen to them with honesty and integrity. We have a great council now, and we have a great city. I want to continue to work on the projects that we have on the board and projects that are coming down the road, and the people of Commerce City would not believe what is coming before them as this city goes from good to great. I want this city to live up to the vision that says quality community for a lifetime. And thank you, and I'd like for your vote on November 5th.
Thank you, Renee. Jason, could you go?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. And again, thank you to the Business and Professional Association for hosting this this opportunity for us to expose our ideas to the citizens, and for the citizens to get a chance to see those of us that are going to be on the ballot for them this fall. I think it comes down to the fact that we have to grow as one city. The talk of North and South is a distraction from doing the business of the people. Every decision that we make has to consider border to border, north to south, east to west, the focus on working with our peer agencies. All of those things require collaboration that I have proven in my 6.5 years on council, I have proven in 23 years of my professional experience in working in diverse and complex environments to solve problems and show success. I'm committed to this community. My family is committed to this community. And I think at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that the citizens will have me back to continue to do the work that I've begun.
Harvest, your turn.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, watching, and support. The reason I would like to be your city councilman at large, because I want to work for each and every one of you. I need your vote November the 5th, but not only that, I need your support. I want to bring Commerce City to a higher level. I want to take that mystique away that people think about Commerce City. I want us to work hard with the children of Commerce City in the educational field. I went to the school board two days ago. A dropout rate of 6.3. That's high. No matter what the acronyms in front of our name or behind our names, we can all go there to these schools and be mentors, support them. They're our future. They are the ones going to be sitting up here asking us to support them for city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we'll take a 5-minute break, and if we can have the school board up here in 5 minutes, we'll start with them. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Glad to have it done. I said glad to have it done. It's too bad. Too bad the school board needs to listen. It's not my fault. Sure.
Yeah, just forget about it. It goes that much quicker. You could ask us more questions. Or maybe some new questions we haven't already answered a bunch of
By
times.
9. Well, thank you for coming.
Good job.
Yeah, I wish they would have
You did good. Well, you go. All right.
Good job, Dee.
I got water in the top.
Natural there.
Oh, thank you. I have an interview tomorrow for a promotion to
Oh, no way.
morning.
Oh.
Like, great, here we go again.
I've been traveling for 5 weeks, like Sunday through Thursday. I had asked my ward, I'm like, hey, I'm not either. I'm just getting off the plane. I'm with my family. And someone stepped up and no one did. So Janet called me. Like, let's get back to the airport. I'm like, oh, I'll go home and change. So, because of course Jason's just like, you've been gone. I can't believe you're there. What are you doing? I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. So I found my head out and I think I'm going to have someone else. I'm just going to like,
Yeah, I'm the open enrollment, so that way what's going on and deal with my Garrett, so she's been traveling a lot, so, you know, go get the kids, have the kids, and all that week, you know, it's
well, then he broke his foot. He
Oh, Jason?
Yeah. He plays basketball. And they call him Nancy because he's he comes crawling in, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, well, it's Friendster. And I said, what do you think he did? He took his sock off, and then he got his laptop. I'm like, what did you do with your laptop? I look, and he's Googling how to treat a broken foot at home. Because it was the night of the fights.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to miss the fight. And I'm like, have emergency room, let's go. He goes, someone just give me a pretty slice. Oh, probably so. Yeah, he played on that one. Yeah. I know. I'm involved in so much. I'm like, you need to come and help me. He lives in Boulder, or he works in Boulder, so it's kind of like the commute. It just for him to come this way, he's just like, yeah, that's a little too much. My mom lives here, and his parents are both retired, so they pick him up like 2 or 3 times a week. And then I'm pretty flexible when I am here. So I can take like today, I just come to the airport, just go home, pick them up. I was thinking I would have to bring them like this week and get them. A big promotion. Well, you don't need to stay in this.
It's more official authority. So it would be, there's executive director, director, and senior, and PM, coordinators. I'd be like level 3, right at level 3. It's really, in bond contract work, it's official authority.
Do you have to be here?
Oh no, I'm in the state just to show my support.
I know, that's why I feel bad. I'm like, I don't know, but I have to be at church site tomorrow at 7 a.m. So I'm just kind of like, Jason doesn't know it, and he thinks I'm going to sit down with kids tomorrow morning.
I did that this morning, and I was like, our daughter did a private she's a dermatologist. It's fun. Just her.
Trying to find that balance in there. Exactly, you figure it out, huh?
You know, I give you props. You're not on top of it. People that are always pinging you, calling you, and your responsibilities that you have to.
You feel bad because you really want to do so much more. Or like volunteers, you only do so much, you know?
Exactly. So, good job. I give you props.
Based on Rotary. No, MIA, you know that.
Well, no, but we understand you're traveling.
Oh, I told her I'm like, I'll be gone for 5 years.
So, you know, I mean, there are people that are MIA that are right here in the city. So, we say, you know, I could have gone on and on about kids, and I was, and not to bring you all.
Great question, Norm. I was not expecting that. I'm like, whoa. But
yeah, I mean, whether it was municipal, I mean, first of all, really look around. How many communities here our size don't have something available to their residents within those, whether it be municipal owned or run, or most of these, when you get a burial plan or something like that, I'm saying it provides for the perpetual care of your gravesite. Interment versus, you know, burial of an actual body or the ashes, how compacted is more and more of a trend toward cremation than to actual casket. The amount of space needed for cremation obviously is a lot less than you're going to have
full-size casket, right?
Okay.
You going to be the timekeeper? That's real easy. All you got to do is just push the button.
2 minutes intro, right? Start. Stop it. But once it goes, it'll stop at 0, so set it and start.
Hi, Senior Manny. All the city folks are going home. Well, if you'll come back and be seated. Can you come back and be seated? We want to start the school board. Well, thank all of you for staying. And Connie Bashaw, who's one of the candidates, will not be able to be with us tonight. She just got out of a classified meeting, and she's been working for a 14-hour day, I guess, and so she won't be able to come. So I'm sorry about that. So we'll just have Mr. Bashaw and Mr. Gonzalez to talk, and we're going to have 2 minutes opening, 1 minute closing, with questions in between. Thank you. And Mr. Gonzalez, do you want to start?
Good evening. My name is Manny Gonzalez. I was born and raised right here in Commerce City. I'm a graduate of Adams 14, graduated from CU Denver, and currently I'm working for Colorado Youth for a Change, where I manage a team of professionals who are working with at-risk youth. In addition, I volunteer for the School District Facility Committee, the Community Parent-Teacher Team at Adams City High School, the District Community Pasture Committee, and I'm a co-founder of the Betas Foundation, which works locally to provide youth with scholarships. Tonight I would like to focus on the sheer immensity of our educational system. It is the single greatest endeavor by far in which our society engages, affecting every one of us. By the time a graduate degree is earned, a person will have spent upwards of 2 decades in the system. Even the average dropout has spent at least a decade in the system before they hit the street. Given the immense amount of time involved, is it any wonder that at some point in time we're all likely to falter? And when we do, will we be lucky enough to have a family member, a friend, a teacher to listen to us, to encourage us, to help us get back on track? In this campaign, I've related my annoyance with the phrase "give back," as if we have no responsibility to give until we are successful. We will never have a better world if we sit around waiting for others to give back. Beyond competency in reading, writing, and arithmetic, we need to consider the importance of instilling giving as a fundamental virtue in children, the core around which a sense of social responsibility develops. Everyone here tonight has talked about fostering a sense of community, but without an instilled spirit of giving,
The time clock is...
a circle of giving which circulates through society, there will be no community. With my candidacy, I pledge to give my time and effort to the students, parents, and teachers of Adams 14. Will you join me?
Thank you. Mr. Vashon?
Thanks, Manny. Hello, I'm Robert Vashaw. I carry around with me the last 10 years of CSAP TCAP scores in my lunchbox everywhere I go. 8% proficient in 9th grade math was criminal. We changed that old culture and started a new one. I knew we needed to turn around our school district long before the Colorado Department of Education mandated we turn it around. And I admitted we had a problem. While on the Board of Education for 6 years, the Adams 14 schools experienced the largest single-year increase in TCAP scores since 2007. The percentage of Adams 14 students who scored proficient or above increased across all 4 content areas from 2012 to 2013. In 2013, a higher percentage of Adams 14 students scored proficient or above than any other time over the past 8 years. The percentage of students who scored proficient or above increased across all 4 content areas in both middle schools. A higher percentage of Adams City Middle School students scored proficient or above in reading, writing, and math than any other time over the past 8 years. The percentage of students at Kearney Middle School who scored proficient or above in writing increased by 10 percentage points over the past year. The percentage of students who scored proficient or above increased across all 4 content areas at both high schools. A higher percentage of Adams City High School students scored proficient or above in reading and writing than at any other time over the past 8 years in Adams 14. Adams City and Kearney Middle Schools have moved from accredited with turnaround to being accredited with performance. The Board of Education, that was fast. Thank you.
Sorry. Now, if the audience has questions, if they haven't, they should write them down and give them to Norman so he can get them up here. Thank you. Mr. Bashaw, please let the voters know what are your most important criteria considered when determining or deciding your position on any policy or education-related matter.
I've said this since day one of being elected 6 years ago, that I now have 7,500 students in Adams 14, not just my one student. Every decision I make, I wrap around the students of our school district first, the parents second, and the employees of the district third.
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, can you answer the same question?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. Please let the voters know what your most important criteria you will consider when determining or deciding your position on any policy or education-related matter.
Thank you. You have to think students first. You have to know that as a board member, you're advocating for every student that's in the district. And promoting a positive education around any policy is crucial. I think in considering any policy, any system within a school district or a school, again, looking at data is important. Looking at the culture and climate of your school district, again, is important. And so I think listening to your staff, your community, and again, doing what's best for the students.
Thank you. Do you believe that the business community should be more involved with the district from the standpoint of getting better qualified students for entry-level or other jobs? And if so, what might that involvement look like? Mr. Bashaw?
Good question. We have talked about having students work in local businesses, being interns at City Hall, the Water Department, but also over at Suncor and other businesses. Commerce City is a city of industry, and we have so much to offer our students that go to school here. They could be interning over at a business, and then the business might actually hire them after they get their high school diploma and then help them with college. So I fully support businesses working together with Adams 14, and not only just when we ask them for fundraising dollars, but to actually come out and help us educate the kids, get the kids involved, get them passionate. I know Cummings has said that they cannot hire diesel mechanics because they can't find them. And we've got a small auto shop at Adams City High School, so how could Cummings Diesel help us build a better class at the high school to educate the kids so that when they go out to the workforce, Cummings Diesel could snap them right up?
Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, I have the same question for you. Do you want me to repeat?
No, that's fine. Thank you. So I think one of the biggest challenges in education and here in Adams 14 and school districts across the state is student engagement. And how can you make education relative to real life? And I think by partnering with the business community, by partnering with the city and the community to engage these students, that would be one step in the right direction for, again, a successful district, a successful community, and a successful city.
Thank you. Mr. Vashaw, could you please identify what, if any, ways the school board administration can be more transparent in performing their duties and responsibilities with the taxpayer money?
Another good question. When the President School Board hired Pat Sanchez to be our superintendent, that was one of the key items, that he was going to be transparent with everything. And we've done a very good job over the last 16 months talking to parents, students about turnaround, talking to them about where the school district is going, where it's been, telling them about the time clock on Adams City High School by the state of Colorado. We've done an extremely good job in the last 16 months being transparent. And the Board of Education has led that way for the superintendent to talk to his staff about being transparent. My philosophy is if there's a little problem today and you don't fix it, it's going to be a bigger problem tomorrow and a huge problem next week. And this transparency has always been an issue, and I think we're doing a really good job working on that at the moment. And I've given out my phone number and my home address, my email address to everybody. You can contact me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime. I'm happy to answer a question.
And Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Do you have shall I repeat the question? Or?
No, that's fine.
Please identify what, if any, ways the school board and administration can be more transparent in their performing their duties and responsibilities with taxpayer money.
So, obviously you have the school board meetings, I believe the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Beyond that, I think engaging the community, collaborating with the city, reaching out consistently to push transparency and communication. I think that's key in any position, any role, professionally, in education, in business. And so in order for the school district to be successful in that area, I think it's opening up communication across the board, not really turning anyone away, and listening to your community and your students.
Thank you. Norman, do you have any questions down there?
Should some kind of building fund be established that could only be used for new and/or replacement buildings 30 or more years into the future. Why or why not?
You want to go?
I'll go first. Thanks for the question, Norm. With the laws we have within the state of Colorado and Tabor, we can only hold on to a certain amount of money year after year after year. If we could change the state law to basically get around that, I would be 100% in favor of putting money together for the rainy day, basically. Our buildings right now are at the end of the preventive maintenance. They're ready for real overhaul. And the school boards in the past, over the past 50 years, they've tried to put money into the buildings, but I respect them that they've always tried to put the money into the classroom first. We really need to keep our buildings up. They're built as commercial buildings, they're built tough, but we put between 500 kids at an elementary to 1,800 kids at the high school through the building 185 days a year. They do take some abuse, but I'm in favor of that, Norm, if we could find a new law that would allow us to do that.
So I think that there's a financially responsible way to do that, and by looking at financial sustainability, not just short-term but long-term, not just counting on the 3 to 5 year grant that comes out to put money back into the classroom or put money into the building, but really looking at getting creative as a board and as a school district. And the idea I would have is creating an endowment fund, so then long-term you could produce some capital in order to utilize that money to either go back into the classroom or, again, put it into buildings or any other need that the school district may have. That could also prevent, having to put an increase on taxes. So, again, avoiding future bonds for needs of buildings.
Do you have another question, Norm?
The audience have any questions for these school board members?
Oh, here's a question over here. We've seen this guy before tonight.
And the reason you're going to see me and continue to see me here is because I care about the children.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to the school board, whether you're sitting there as an incumbent or you're running for this seat, what is your plan, if any, or even if it is your realm, to allow the students to have ownership in their schools? Because right now the students don't have ownership in their schools, and I believe the school board as a whole can change that. I think you can make yourself more visible to the students. I think you can, I know that you have a plan there, and it takes parent engagement. So I have another part to that question. I know that they have started having parent meetings. I think there's some parent groups out there. I believe there's one started at Lesher, the other high school. I think it's named Lesher. And the person that started it has like 12 to 15 parents today. Can the school board assist the existing school in trying to get some of these parent involvement stuff? Is that your realm, or could you do that, or would you do that?
Good question. The school board has one employee, the superintendent of schools. And the school board basically has 3 jobs. Hire the superintendent, I like to say kick them in the budget, or do the budget, and to review or create new policies. The parent involvement in the school district, that is one of the priorities of the sitting school board, is to get the parents involved. The superintendent has found ways to hire parent liaisons and to make things happen in each school building. Giving ownership to the kids in their school. That one hits a soft spot with me over the gym floor at Adams City High School. Our students cannot use that gym for prom, for homecoming dance. It's only used for sports. And I understand maintenance of the gym floor. We spent a lot of money building that school, and I want it to last forever. But we need to give that building to the students so they can use it, so they can have fun, so they can have pride in their building, and so they want to go to school. Academics is number one, but if the kids aren't happy, they're not going to go to school. Academics are number one. If the kids aren't feeling safe in the building, they're not going to want to go to school. So there's a lot of things that affect school culture, but the present school board is working really hard in the right direction for school culture.
So the first part of your question, I guess my idea is that culture and climate is everything. A sense of pride is everything. And whether that's in your community or in your schools, if you don't have that, then you're going to struggle. And you're going to have systems that fail. You're going to have students that fail. You're going to have staff who don't like their job. And so I think the idea is here that if, as a community, as a school district, we can come together, we can promote this sense of pride, civic pride, pride within the school, students will naturally be engaged in their academics. Does that answer the first part of your question?
It does.
Second part, parent engagement, I think is, again, a challenge. There are a lot of generalizations that get thrown out there with parent engagement, especially when you're in a community like this where you have a predominantly minority community, low income, and the assumption is that they don't care. And really it's just a lack of communication between the community, the city, and the school district. And again, if those people can communicate and collaborate cohesively, then I think you start to make steps in a successful direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask another question?
Do we have another question coming forward? Oh, Mr. Cerna, do you have a question? Do you have another one?
I do. I have one more question. I went to the homecoming parade. I went to the junior barbecue, and I noticed the area where the kids congregate, or whatever you want to call it, for after lunch. And I don't know if it's lack of funds or whatever it is, but I think I seen stationary tables there, picnic tables. There's like 2 tables out there. What are the kids? How are they supposed to be interacting with each other if they have no place to sit down and even do their homework when they're at lunchtime or whatever the case may be? The area itself is like a concrete jungle. It's all fenced around. It's something that I believe the school board needs to take a look at as far as the development of that school goes, because otherwise you're going to have kids getting in trouble there. And I understand that the doors aren't open during lunchtime, so the kids can't go into the school. I don't know if that's your guys' function, but I think you guys can assist in fixing it.
I'll take a shot at this one. We are changing the school culture and school pride at Adams City High School. We've got, I think, 1,829 students there this year so far. We are trying to get them engaged in the math class, in the science, in the yearbook, into auto shop, ROTC, wood shop. Our wood shop, our carpentry teacher had the kids build model airplanes last year, and the kids were flying them around out on the football field. We're trying to get these kids engaged into all kinds of stuff to help with their academics. And I would love to buy a table for that. I'm sure we could find a table somewhere bolted into the concrete like the other ones to give them a place to do their homework. But in the process of changing school culture, we're going to get to a point where we can put in tables anywhere, and we can take down the fences, and we can have the kids happy and excited to go to school and give them a place where they want to learn. We visited Prairie Middle School one time, and there was a group of kids that didn't have a teacher that day, and they were sitting in this little lounge, sitting at tables and working, doing homework without a teacher present. I want that at Adams City High School.
If you vote for me, I'll go buy a table and throw it out there. How about that? All right.
Right on.
Well, I guess we'll have the summation. We don't have any more questions. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes
Guillermo.
Mr. Cerna. He has a question.
in the mentioning of minorities, what are you going to do to bring the reflection of every one of our buildings to reflect the students that are being taught within this district, from administration all the way to the building maintenance? I take you back 6, 8 years ago when minorities that we had worked hard to bring in as teachers into this community were let go. And it seems like that has not stopped. And you want children to have pride, then bring something that they can have pride in, and something that they can reflect on right in front of them, that they can be teachers, that they can be administrators, that they can be lawyers. The culture was mentioned. That's part of it. The environment. The buildings that we have right now. And what are we going to do if some of these issues don't pass? Our buildings need fixing because we need technology. Our high school needs children that will fit in the industry city that we live in. We need to improve that, along with technology that goes with body and fender, that goes with building an engine. It's a computer world. What will you do to accomplish that situation? That's both of you, really.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and answer first, since I had mentioned some demographics in there. I had mentioned minorities, and I had brought up that point just to highlight what communities like this struggle with, both in education and community. But I think in education, if we focus just on one demographic or one particular in the demographics, then again, you're taken away from other kids. So in this case, I would say that every student in this community, in this school district, is just as important as the next. And that when I speak about pride and culture, whether it's within the school district or within the community, I think us as adults, we have to lead by example. And if we don't set that example, then they won't know what that pride is. And so it may not be a concrete answer as to what you want, but I think, again, as a community, as a school district, if we focus on raising achievement, if we focus on promoting culture and a sense of pride within themselves and our community, that alone can point us in the right direction.
Good job.
I want to ask about preschool education for our children, the 3 to 5-year-olds. Is there a possibility of getting them all into preschool, or is that a long way off? Or do they already have it?
Let me answer Guillermo's question first, and
Okay.
that's a great question for preschool. We have students from over 30 different countries attending school in Adams 14. Culture is a very big part of the education of our students. Last year at Adams City High School, they had Culture Week, where they had students from that cooked different food. They made their food from their country and shared it with the parents and the other students. They wore their clothes. They wore their dress. They really got engaged, and they tried to educate the other students on their culture. We do need to work together. We do have 7,500 kids. And we're trying to, the old way of education was an assembly line effect. They go in the front door, first grade, and we march them through the assembly line, and we try to graduate them with a great diploma at 12th grade. With this diverse climate we have in Adams 14 with kids from 30 different countries, we have to adjust, and we have to adjust to their culture. We want them all to come into our culture. The United States of America was formed by immigrants from around the world, and it's really a special place to be right now in Adams 14 because we're embracing the cultures from all these other countries. And now the preschool question. Preschool, the Board of Education over my 6 years has done pretty good with preschool. We've increased the number of slots. The last bond, we were able to build some preschool classes. The big conversation right now is we can't afford it with the money we have to offer preschool to all kids. The conversation around Amendment 66 is if Amendment 66 passes, we will put in preschool for every student in Adams 14. We will extend the school year for every student in Adams 14. We're not going to give the teachers raises, we're going to buy more teachers. And Norm, on your question, I think we'd be able to buy some more classrooms, do some of that facility stuff. But we do pretty good with our $7,000 per student we get. We get about another $20-some million worth of grants throughout the year, and Adams 14 does okay with our money. We've never been in the hole in Adams 14. We keep we keep above the state Tabor rate in the bank account, and like I say, things cost money. Money doesn't always fix everything, but for preschool, money would definitely help with that.
So, I guess I really don't have a much different response other than it's a funding thing. And at this point, I think if you look at 3C, and if that measure were to pass, then that would really open up some space for a true preschool. And I think the current administration and school board, they've had those conversations, and so that would just be something that would be worked out in the future based on funding, maybe even with the state initiative, Amendment 66 passing, that would bring some more money into the district and really allow the board and the school district to move forward with a true preschool system.
Thank you. Well, we'll go to summation now. So if you can take a minute, or even a minute and a half, I'll give you an extra 30 seconds.
All right.
Go ahead.
I've been on the Board of Education for 6 years, and I've really become passionate about educating our students in Adams 14, our 7,500 students. I volunteer over 500 hours per year to Adams 14. I have helped create the new culture and climate of Adams 14, and I want to see it continue. I want to build a school district where, when I'm off the school board, it continues to function highly. I want to build a school district where, when Pat Sanchez moves off to another job, we hire another superintendent, and it continues to function at a high pace. I want to build a school district where every student comes out with a great high school diploma that could get accepted to any college in the country, whether they want to go to college or not. I want every student in Adams 14 to succeed. The way I see it is we've got 7,500 kids. We have about 1,000 of them transition out of the district every school year, and a new 1,000 come in. We always stay at that 7,500. And for the last 6 years on the board, every time we graduated a class, and the students had a 1.0 grade point average to get a diploma. That was almost criminal. Students that got a 2.0 and couldn't make it into college, that was criminal. I am here for another 4 years to continue the work that I've started and the school board has started to highly educate our kids, and they deserve every bit of it.
Thanks. So, I don't want to make this about me, but I'll give some context into what I'm going to say. And so I was born and raised in this community, graduated from Adams 14, and when I graduated from Adams City High School in 1999, I was going into a world that I did not know, and I was not prepared for. I was not prepared academically. I was not prepared socially. And when I think, now that I can reflect on it, I think I was failed, both for my community and the school district. I was remediated for 2 years in college. I wasn't prepared. And so moving into this role, I think that's my goal, is that every student should be able to graduate from this school district prepared for the real world, prepared academically, prepared socially. They should have the confidence and pride to walk away and be able to do whatever they want, whether that's college, a trade, or the workforce. And I think we can develop those students and those youth in our community with collaboration and, again, just bringing a sense of pride to this community and the school district. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. And this will be filmed on Channel 8, so tell your friends about it. It'll be on until the election. And they'll probably put a schedule out so you'll know when it's going to run. Thank you.
So nice to meet you. Thanks so much.
It was nice to meet you. Thank you very much for coming.
Oh, you bet. No, this was fun. You got the concerned citizens that should. You got the ones that sit at home and watch Channel 8.
Yeah,
And everybody.